You know that feeling, right? When you're in a relationship, maybe with family or a friend, and it just feels draining. You try and you try, you talk more, but nothing ever seems to change. And the thought of just stepping back, it feels so heavy, so loaded with guilt. Well, today, we're going to look at a totally different way to think about distance. One that isn't about giving up, but about protecting yourself. Yeah, this quote really hits the nail on the head. I mean, you can be sitting right next to someone and feel like they're a million miles away. This isn't about physical space at all. It's about that emotional vibe. And more importantly, it's about emotional safety. So many of us are raised to believe this, aren't we? If a connection feels strained, the answer must be more effort, more calls, more meetings, more trying to knock down those walls. We just assume that if we push hard enough, things have to get better. But what if that's just not true? And that's when you hit this really painful wall. You find yourself talking to someone whose ears might be open, but their mind is completely locked. Their words aren't really about understanding you, they're packed with judgment. And you're just explaining the same thing over and over and over again, and it just never, ever lands. The source material for this explainer actually has a term for this dynamic: a problematic person. This is that individual who consistently just dismisses your point of view. And a lot of the time it's because of some perceived difference in status, like age or wealth or social class. You're trying so hard to understand them, but you just feel completely devalued because that effort is never, ever coming back your way.
And wow, the analogy used here is potent. It says that trying to engage with someone who lacks empathy and self-awareness is like smoking near dynamite. They might just say or do things without even realizing the damage they're causing, but that harm is very, very real. It's just an unpredictable and, frankly, dangerous situation for your own well-being.
Okay, so if pouring in more effort isn't the answer, and trying to get through to a closed mind is just plain exhausting, what do you do? What's left? Well, the alternative isn't about giving up. It's actually a really powerful shift in how you look at the whole thing. This is where we completely reframe the idea. Creating distance is not about hate. It's not punishment. It's not about being cold or just giving up on somebody. Instead, think of it as an act of self-preservation. It's a quiet, personal decision that's all about self-respect and giving yourself the space you desperately need to heal. And let's be clear, this isn't some loud, dramatic announcement. It's an internal thing, a quiet decision that you make for you. It's you finally deciding to stop allowing yourself to be wounded in that same old way. It's a boundary you draw not out of anger, but for the sake of your own peace. So, how do we actually put this into practice? Well, first things first, stop knocking on closed doors. You have to accept that you just can't force someone's mind to open. Second, start putting your energy into the relationships where you feel seen, where you feel understood without having to constantly justify your own existence. And third, learn to be okay with silence. It doesn't always mean something's wrong. Sometimes it's just a sign of acceptance and peace. Now here's the paradox that can change everything. We always assume that physical closeness means emotional warmth, but that is so often not the case. Being forced into proximity with someone can feel absolutely freezing. And on the flip side, creating some intentional distance can actually bring warmth and respect back into the picture. The temperature of a relationship really isn't about the space between your bodies, but the space between your hearts. Because when we find that sweet spot, that appropriate, respectful distance, something really remarkable starts to happen. The whole picture just changes. All that emotional noise, the frustration, the constant hurt, it all starts to fade into the background. And with that newfound space, you can finally see the other person and yourself with so much more clarity, without that fog of constant conflict. And you know what comes from that clarity? A whole different kind of understanding. It's not one that's forced through endless arguments, but one that grows naturally from a place of mutual respect, an understanding that finally has room to breathe. So, this is the crucial point. Sometimes the most profound connections and the deepest understanding don't come from filling the air with more words. They grow in the quiet space that you create, where respect and acceptance can finally, actually take root. And that's the thought I really want to leave you with. As we wrap up this explainer, just take a second to reflect. Is there a relationship in your life where stepping back a little isn't an act of coldness, but maybe, just maybe, it's a chance to bring back some warmth, some clarity, and maybe even a deeper kind of understanding? Where could a little quiet distance make all the difference for you?